Hey guys, I'm here with Mark. He is a Silver 4 Singed player, and he is playing versus a Tryndamere in the top lane. Mark, what are your runes and masteries this game?
I'm running Magic Pen Reds, Armor Yellows, AP Glyphs, and Movement Speed Quints.
Okay. Your rank in server, I'm assuming it's NA, right?
Yeah, correct.
Ranking?
I'm sorry.
Ranking?
So I'm Silver 4, and I think I'm 0 LP now.
Okay. Gotcha. Well, you're playing versus Tryndamere in top lane. I think your runes and excuse me, I think your runes and masteries are fine. Right now, I think there's 4 different setups that are good on Singed. I think the Spellvamp page I think is good on Singed. I think the movement speed page is good on Singed. I think that going Courage of the Colossus is good. I also think going DFT is good. I think deviating from any combination of those 4 is pretty bad, but I think that those 4 can be kind of used interchangeably to really good effect. I wouldn't recommend, if just for not for this coaching session specifically, but just in general, I wouldn't recommend going AP Quints, because you currently on Singed, I think the best way to play him is to build early AP anyways, so it kind of nullifies the having AP Quints if you're doing that. Plus, utility generally is a little bit better on Singed than damage as far as runes themselves are concerned. So what I'm noticing here is whenever you start the game, you kind of just sitting at your tower. That is the first mistake, I think. Whenever the game starts, you want to try and be like, either stand here to guard for a 5-point invade. One of the things that I like to do whenever I'm playing Singed is like stand over here and look for a proxy, and if they don't let you get the proxy, then you can go ahead, stand back here for looking for a 5-point invade. You could even stand up here and scout if they're trying to stand in lane. It's usually not a good idea to just stand up here by your tower and do nothing, because the game starts as soon as you load in. It doesn't start when minions get in the lane, and any amount of information that you can grab about what the enemy is doing is useful information.
Okay. So you mentioned proxy, but versus Tryndamere, essentially, since he's an AD version of Singe and can also proxy,
Okay, yeah.
is that sort of depend on things, or how does that work?
So other champions can proxy, but no one can do it as early as Singed can. That's kind of what makes him unique in the laning phase, is that he's able to proxy earlier than any other champion. I know like Rammus can proxy, Amumu can proxy, Tryndamere can do it, Renekton can do it too, but none of them can do it at level 1 like Singed can. So generally, and this is especially true for like any elo below like Platinum 1, people generally won't watch for your proxy. And what that means is if they let you get, you know, the first 3 waves behind the tower for free, then you should probably take that chance, because it's perfect CS, and you pressure them and you get a free recall after you execute on the 3rd wave. What you're doing is not bad, though. You have to keep that in mind. Laning versus a Tryndamere is not bad, because Tryndamere is one of the characters that Singed can actually beat in lane. So it's not a bad decision, but keep in mind that if you ever had the chance to get a 3-man proxy or a 3-wave proxy at level 1 without getting interrupted, then you should try and take it.
Okay.
Okay, so right here, you're getting ganked by Jarvan. You saw this ward. Try and place it over here towards the edge. It gives you a little bit more vision towards the river. Just a little bit more time to react to. Also, if the wave is frozen like this, actually, never mind. My point's redundant there. The only one I want to really make is put this ward a little bit further down. Okay, that's good. Yeah, I would have ghosted there too. I think that's fine. And this wave is pushing towards you, so ideally you would want to just kind of let him push towards you and last down your tower, because I think you have 345 gold, so, or 350 gold. So that is generally the amount that you want to back with as a minimum. An ideal back would be 400 gold. And the reason for that is with 350 gold, you can get a Corrupting Potion, but with 400 gold, you can get a Doran's Ring, or you can get Corrupting Potion, and if you wait like 2 seconds after your recall, you'll have money for, what is that fucking thing, a pink word. Okay, yeah, so this is a much better recall time, I think, right here, especially since it's frozen by your tower. Okay, so I just kind of want to highlight this. Do you have a custom item set in your shop, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just so I don't have to set things.
Gotcha. Right here is if you're buying from your custom item shop and you're doing it efficiently, right here, you already have your items actually, yeah. So right here is where I channel my TP, because you have to keep in mind that your teleport has a 4-second channel, and during which time, if you're sitting in your fountain, you're still getting your mana back, but you kind of wait until it was like almost full and then you channeled it. It was like 2 seconds at the end there where you still could have been having mana. It's just a little bit of efficiency because it made you miss a creep or two under the tower over here. It's not the biggest thing in the world, but every little bit counts. CSing under tower is something I think that needs practice, so I'll just like, and this is even something that I need to improve on too, but I'll kind of walk you through it. Right there, that fling was unnecessary on the minion because it was gonna die to your auto attack if you auto attacked it. I'll just do it in slow motion. Actually, I hate backing through it like 6 times. Okay, so this one, okay, that one's fine. You probably wouldn't have gotten that one. That one you wouldn't have gotten. This one, after you poison it, it's an auto attack range. Didn't need to fling that one. That one is fine. You canceled your auto on that one, actually. Yeah, this is just something. It's really small stuff, but it's like this is stuff that you'll get through practice. Really, there's no real like perfect way to teach CSing under tower, but it just takes practice more than anything else. Okay, so right there. Versus Tryndamere, you have to recognize this, you're in a very advantageous position after you kill that creep wave under your tower, because his is pushing towards you. Well, it's not pushing towards you, technically yours is pushing towards him, but it's going to freeze here for a bit until your next wave comes. All right, as long as you're just last hitting this wave, there's no way for that creep wave to get to you, or this creep wave to push until this creep wave hits it, because this line of caster minions is going to get to the creep wave up here before this line of caster minions back here, which means that it's, sorry about that, which means that it's going to push towards him. But until that point, it's frozen there. So that gives you a lot of time to just kind of play around and maybe see if he steps up and see if you can get a fling on him back here. You did get a fling on him, but you got it down here.
My minions.
Yeah, you got it down here, and you also push the wave while you're doing it. Like regardless, yeah, it's going to push towards him, but you can kind of delay that and force him to have to deal with force him to have to deal with trading inside of a big wave. And if he doesn't trade with you, then he might miss CS, which he otherwise would get if he traded with you. And if he doesn't trade with you at all and just lets it push in, then by the time it gets down here, he's having to deal with a giant minion wave in his face. Okay, hold on, I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to my Skype on Do Not Disturb. I forgot to do that. But yeah, like I was saying, by the time that happens, it's going to make it so he has to deal with a giant minion wave. And since he's not level 6, what you can do after that is... Really sorry about this, by the way.
Of course.
So what that would do is, imagine this wave right here, except pushed up here and with 6 extra minions. If you were to fling a level 4 Tryndamere into that, well, he has no potion, then that would mean either he auto-attacks you to try and trade, or he just takes the damage and walks away. Either way, it's a lose-lose situation for him, but you're not losing that much, except you take a tower shot, and maybe if you autos, but you have potions, and he doesn't. I think he had 1 health potion before that. But he also has either he tanks you and the minions, or he just tanks you and doesn't hit you back, and then maybe you can even dive him on the next wave, right? Do you have any questions so far, by the way?
No.
This is good. Right here, I think personally, I would try and go behind the tower and catch the wave and start pushing a little bit faster. Because you had a buffer of like 2 minions right there where you could have stepped, or 2 or 3 minions where you could have stepped back and just caught the wave a little bit earlier and kind of walked around this way to avoid him so you don't tag him with poison. And that way, it just gives you a little bit of a faster push. Like, it doesn't change a whole lot in the long run because the wave reset up here, but it makes it so these minions crash onto his tower sooner, and he levels up later on. It gives you a little bit of an extra window to play in terms of him having a little bit of extra health. Oh, actually, no, it did end up making a bit of a difference because the wave froze here instead of if you had killed the wave like as it was walking up, then this wouldn't have been frozen here.
Right.
Okay, I think that was fine. Flinging him there would have been kind of risky, and I agree with your decision not to fling him there, because if you fling him there, then you don't have enough mana to use your ultimate since you were 200 mana, and that means that he could have tried to all-in you if he realized that you weren't going to use your ultimate. So I agree with the decision not to fling there. That's good mana management.
Yeah, I mean, bad mistakes there. And then
I gotcha,
just like 2 free tower shots.
Not the biggest deal in the world. Personally, I would not have gone for the proxy there anyways, just because you're out of you were out of potion charges even before you took the tower shot. So that means at most you can get 1 creep wave, and if you get ganked, you don't have potion regen. So I think regardless, recalling there was probably the right decision, even though it was kind of a mistake that made you do it.
Yeah.
So first item, Bramble Vest. I like that. I think that's fine. Another option I think would have been to get like a Doran's Ring and a Cloth Armor. Either is fine at this stage because he's not too like fed or anything. All he has is like a slight CS advantage. But Bramble Vest is completely fine here. Okay, so I'm looking at this from your vision perspective. You see Tryndamere in the river. What are you thinking right now?
I'm thinking that I'm at this point I'm thinking, okay, he's either going to gank mid or he's putting a ward in the river. So I'm gonna see if I can catch up in my CS lead because I'm down 10 at this point.
Okay.
Yeah, so on and so forth.
Okay, gotcha. So one of the things that I like to do here, especially since you saw him pop into the jungle there, is I would just ping missing. It's not a big deal because like at the end of the day, if someone gets ganked by him, it's their fault.
Right.
But it's just something I like to do anyways because people. Oh, you did it right there. Okay, that's good. At the end of the day, it's just something that, especially in low E lineup, people get really pissed off if they get ganked by the top laner. So always a good habit right there. From my perspective, I would have tried to walk behind the tower, but it's good that you didn't because Jarvan ended up being right there. I almost think that you could have taken the 2v1 though with your Bramble Vest and Ultimate and Ghost, even though like there's a chance, yeah, Jarvan will ult you and trap you. But actually he's level 5, so he'd have to kill that camp. I think he gets 6 off this. No, he doesn't even get 6. Yeah, so even with Jarvan being 6 there and maybe being in the area, that's a proxy I would have taken because he is. They're both really vulnerable to your Bramble Vest and Ultimate and Corrupting Potion combination at level 7. Also, it's very hard for you at this stage to solo kill Tryndamere unless you all-in him, like up here by your tower. And the only way you can do that is if you let him push towards you, but at the same time, if you let him push towards you, you're not pressuring him, so I kind of understand the hesitation to kind of let the lane freeze towards you.
Right.
Okay, so you're getting ganked here, you pop the ultimate. Fling him off, take the Jarvan ult, pop your Ghost. Okay, I think that's fine. The only thing I want to highlight is this cancelled auto attack right here. Because I think Jarvan was about 1 auto attack off of dying.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's like 4 canceled autos actually. I've noticed that you're doing that a lot. Is there a reason that happens? Yeah,
no,
45 HP. That was an auto attack range. Do you have your auto attack set to like automatic whenever you walk up to a target? There's a setting under gameplay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I do.
Try and turn that off, and then just use your like kind of try and teach yourself to auto attack on your command as opposed to the game thinking you should, because sometimes like the game will with that setting the game will input an auto attack command, but like you're trying to click somewhere or you're trying to click a different target and it ends up canceling and you do like less damage in both regards as opposed to even hitting the wrong target, because like you never know what difference one auto attack will make, because like in that situation 1 auto attack would have gotten you a kill.
Right.
I think the teleport there is fine, especially if you're trying to keep up even in CS. The amplifying tome buy I think is fine too. Early AP is definitely strong on Singed right now.
With Tryndamere, do you find yourself, because he can only taunt you or slow you when you're looking away from him, do you tend to try to face forward so he can't get that off?
I usually okay.
I
so
mean, it's kind of hard with Singed, I know, because that's like how you do your damage is when you run away. But
So here's the thing with Tryndamere. The slow is annoying, and he only hits the slow on you if you're facing away from him, but the auto attack damage reduction, the AD reduction he gives you with that same ability, hits you no matter what. So in a certain situation, after a point, it's not really like, you can try to really optimize it and be facing him every time he uses a W. Or sorry, I think it's his W, right? The shout.
Yeah. I think so.
So you can try and face him and make sure he doesn't slow you, but it's not like the biggest thing in the world. Like, yeah, he slows you a bit, but even if you had faced him there and not taken the slow, odds are you wouldn't have been able to fling him anyways, just because he had the distance in between him and you.
Right.
Yeah, the biggest thing to worry about whenever he does shout you is that you have reduced AD damage, which can make your all-ins weird, but on Singed it's not the biggest deal in the world, especially when you're past like level 4 to have reduced AD, because you at that point you usually have a bit of AP behind your poison. Okay, I think that's fine. Okay, this is fine too. Is there a reason that you're not leaning towards a Doran's Ring at all, or is that not something that you usually buy on Singed?
So, I wanted to try to rush Rylai's because
Hecarim.
I really struggle.
Or no, Hecarim's on your team. I'm stupid. Sorry.
I really struggle with Tryndamere and Darius. Like, essentially, I mean, in low elo, I find that people who play them are the people who just spam them, and that's they essentially solo carry, right? Because Tryndamere is just eventually going to be a split push, annoying champion.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to try to rush Rylai's to end up peeling for my team, and I guess I don't know. I guess I just don't see Doran's Ring as like, other than if I'm trying to proxy and I need the mana sustain.
Okay, sure. And I get that. Doran's Ring is definitely the most efficient on Singed when you're proxying. I've just noticed that in a few of these trades where you're expending a lot of mana, it ends up not being that big of a deal because you're playing better than he is right now as far as laning phase is concerned. But in a more even lane situation where he's not taking trades and you're not taking trades and you need to farm, and all of a sudden there's one trade but then like a quarter of your mana is gone, you maybe have to pop your ultimate, there's another quarter of your mana because it's 100 mana cost. Fling is like 80 or something like that. It's right. Level 3. Oh wait, it's 110 at level 3. Yeah, I forgot about that. It's 80 at level 1 now, that early game buff. But the thing about Doran's Ring is with your ultimate technically gives you, I'm not sure if this is a bug or not, but Doran's Ring increases your base mana regen by 50%, and Insanity Potion gives you 35 mana regen at level 1. I'm not sure if that's supposed to be listed as a base stat or not, but it treats it as a base stat, and then you get a shit ton of mana regen from having that Doran's Ring. So if you're ever in like a nasty situation where you're gonna run out of mana, but you have 100 mana left and your Doran's Ring, just go ahead and pop it. It'll get like 200 mana very quickly.
Yeah.
Ooh, unfortunate. Okay, let's go back over this fight. Now that I'm done ranting about that. Okay, so
I should have focused Tryndamere after I remember this fight, and I just remember everybody was so tilted at each other after this.
Okay.
Instead, I just stood there because I
that's
wanted
weird.
to wait for...
Do you remember if you had vision of that blue buff or not? Well, after, like when you flung it, or did you have the fling queued on it as Jarvan went in? See, because it disappears right there.
I tried to fling Jarvan, but for some reason, like the blue buff, it magically transported.
It's very odd.
I was gonna try to fling Jarvan so he couldn't ult. That was my plan. But then instead, the blue buff just appeared, and it's like, okay, I flung a blue buff for no reason. And watching that again, I can see where I instead of waiting for the Jarvan ult to end, I should have just went on Tryndamere.
I can see that. Okay, so here's how I would have played this fight. The first thing I would have told my team is, like, as I'm walking down from here to there, I would have been like, okay, I don't have ultimate, be careful. I'm pretty weak without my ultimate. Singed is a character as very ultimate reliant. I wouldn't call this early game anymore. Level 10, 11 is kind of where you start to get into the mid game territory. Like if this is like level 4 or 5, like this fight is no big deal without your ultimate, or like even like 6 or 7, it's no big deal. 10 or 11, you kind of start getting to the point where if you don't have your ultimate, you're at a disadvantage. If you have your ultimate, that's when you want to fight. So very something that's very important thing to keep in mind is after you kill the Jarvan here, and he's like, okay, so you killed the Jarvan right here. At this point, I would have just started running away, like, immediately. Because, especially since you don't have your ultimate, Taliyah, trying to fight a Taliyah without your ultimate is basically suicide, because she's a character that's super duper good at kiting. You take a lot of damage from her, and then Tryndamere ends up jumping on you and killing you, which is unfortunate, but what I would have done is just dipped out as soon as I saw Taliyah, and tried to not, like, go for her, because there was, like, a few auto attacks in there that she threw at you, too, and then Tryndamere killed you with one last auto attack before he popped his ultimate, and it was a very close call situation all around. But if the fight was a little bit more careful after you killed Jarvan, I think you would have gotten out there just fine. Okay, so you got Rylai's, about 15-minute Rylai's. That's good, I think. I'm not seeing any big issues with your build so far. Again, the biggest things so far have been last hitting, auto attack canceling, and then this fight over here.
So I'm assuming you don't have the, I guess, the auto closest champion.
I have it set to off, yeah. I only let my character auto attack whenever I tell it to auto attack.
Got it.
It's just a lot more predictable that way.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think using ultimate there was mostly fine. If you didn't ultimate there, he was probably going to all-in you, so I think that's fine. Something to consider though is whenever he uses his E on you to get onto you there, at that point, personally, I would ultimate immediately and just try and fight him, because if you ult whenever you have higher HP, every auto attack he hits you with does less. But there's a bit of a delay here. You let him get you to about 75% HP before you pop your ultimate, which means at that point his auto attacks have already done quite a bit of damage to you, and he has no incentive to try and fight you. But if you pop your ultimate as soon as he jumps on you, kite him over here, and try and fight him over here, maybe get a goofling on him as he's hitting you, and getting him lower and lower, there's a chance that even with his ultimate up, you could have chased him down and killed him with especially with your DFT. And that's definitely something that I think takes a lot of learning on Singed, is knowing when to use your ult and when not to use it, because that's probably, because with him being so ultimate reliant, it definitely feels very bad if you pop your ultimate and nothing happens, like you don't even fight anything. So I can see the hesitation there, but his E is his opener and his closer, so he has to use it to get onto people, and he has to use it to get off of people. If you make him use it, you didn't make him use it to get onto you, but he used it to get onto you over here, and then if you drag him over here, yeah, he's gonna get the reset on his E and be able to use it again. But he has to walk all the way down here to use it, or he has to walk over here and use it. And at that point, you have a lot of buffer time to maybe get a goofling on him while he's, in his ultimate running it down. And then you might be able to get a kill on him that way. Yeah, this is fine. You're taking a long time in the shop again. Were you waiting for gold there, or?
I was waiting to see what was happening bot lane.
Okay.
And I was just kind of watching my team. I was like, oh, please God. Don't.
Gotcha, sure. Something to keep in mind is if you're not planning on teleporting down there because it's closer to their tower, there's really nothing like you can do to change the outcome of it. So the better decision overall, I think, is to just buy your items as fast as possible and start walking back to lane. Let's see how low he gets this tower. I don't think here it would have made a difference, because he ends up killing your tower by the time you would have been like over here. Actually, no, you had teleport though. We can talk about that here in a second.
Yeah, I teleported to mid because I figured, I don't know, Tryndamere was gonna. I thought Tryndamere would get faster than Taliyah would, and I thought mid would be more of a save to keep mid tower than it is to keep outer tower.
I think here, no matter what, you lose one tower, because if you teleport top, then you lose mid tower.
Right.
And if you teleport mid, you lose top tower, and mid tower is more important than top tower, so I think you made the right decision here. But yeah, just make sure that you're buying your items as efficiently as possible. Something that you can practice on your own. Just to get better at buying is just go into a custom and practice. What I used to do was I would just like channel my recall, and then whenever you recall, the camera does this weird thing where it just like pops back to the center of the base. Like you'll be recalling, and then it just goes boom, like right there every single time, in, like this position or something. So you want to get used to like where everything is sitting in the base, so you can just, as you're recalling, like right click over here and then use one of your hotkeys to open your shop. I have a shop hotkey set to period, and I have a shop hotkey set to P. So usually after I recall, what I will do is just immediately start walking over here or immediately start walking over here. As I'm regenning, I push period or I push P, and I start buying what I need. Then I push it again to close the shop window. And as I'm about to hit full HP and full mana, I'll start walking out. You can get out of base with like 90% HP and mana, and by the time you get back to where you need to go, it'll usually be regen up to full because of passive regen.
Okay.
So you don't need to wait until you're full HP and mana every single time, as long as you know there's a bit of time that you need to wait to get to where you need to go. I want to rewind this a bit. Okay, so yeah, I think teleporting mid was the correct decision there. Here you have a really good item set right now to fight him. Again, there's just some hesitation with your ultimate. If Tryndamere is walking up to you to try and fight you there, definitely don't take that for free. Just pop your ultimate and try and run him down. There's a few auto attacks there. There's trying to see this. I'm not sure what Fizz is doing. I think you end up getting the kill here. Yeah, like he can't really do anything to you at this stage. And then yeah, Fizz just goes in for the kill. I'm hoping he gets it. Okay, yeah, the dot kills him.
Yep.
So you end up getting the kill, which is fine. Just some efficiency issues overall. There was like a few canceled auto attacks over here. I think like he was standing right here, and then you were standing in front of him. Whenever you're in a fight, you always want to try and be standing under them and auto attacking them at the same time if you can, because that makes it so you know your poison's hitting and you're also auto attacking. Because I'm not sure. Let me check if he was actually in poison range or not. I'm not sure, because there is a very, very small amount of range. It's like 5 range where it can go in front of you and hit, but I think he was outside of that range.
Blue team's turret has been destroyed.
So right there when he walked up to you, something important to consider that you can also do in addition to ulting is, since you're up against a wall, that makes hitting your goo fling very easy. Just throw the W down and fling him into it against the wall, because it makes it so there's a lot less distance for your fling to fuck up, and there's a lot less distance for your W to fuck up against the wall. So it makes hitting the goo fling very, very easy. And that way you'd be hitting with poison damage while he's stuck in there, and your ultimate's running, so you have additional damage. Sorry, what were you saying?
I was just gonna say, I saved it because I figured he would try to spin away at one point, so I was saving it to slow him because I saw Fizz coming.
Yeah, no problem.
So, yeah.
I think that's fine. Just something to consider is that you also have Ghost, and you would have done a lot of damage to him there. I think you used your W there. Okay, here, actually, let's count and see when he actually spins. Okay, so you're walking up to lane. I'll play this from your perspective. Okay, walks up to you, auto attacks you once. You fling him, and then he E's right here. Okay, so his E was on a 8-second cooldown, and your fling, or your shit. What is the cooldown? 17 seconds. Okay, so if you had flung him up here and goo flung him, it's not going to make that big of a difference, since his E cooldown is so much lower than your W cooldown, with your W being 17 seconds and his being 7. Also, every time he crits, he gets a lower cooldown on E, by the way. So it really isn't going to make a big difference, because it's so hard to be able to like to block 2 of his E's instead of like just putting him in the goo fling route and making sure that he's sitting there taking your poison damage. And if you like, since you have Bramble Vest and Tab, you can just walk up to him and tank him while he's doing that too. And for the duration of it, he's stuck there. He can't kite you. You can dictate his positioning. You can make and also after it wears off, you're more prepared to respond to the direction that he's going to run. The goo itself on the ground lasts one or 1/2 second longer than what the root duration is, depending on when you throw him, because the effect lasts after it wears off. So the effect of the slow, and I think the grounding too. So that's another little bit of that extra time where he wouldn't be able to E away. I can see from your perspective why you have the incentive to save it. I think it's fine. Just with the way that it kind of played out, it would have been a little bit easier on you to be able to just root him against the wall and fight him. At least I think so.
Yeah. No, I see it. No.
Okay, this is good, I think, right here. Ooh. Okay, so you get the driving kill, you get the 1-for-1. I think that's fine. You could have lived there if you dodged the EQ. That's just a mechanical error. There's not really too much of a point in going past that. That just takes practice to be able to react to stuff like that. What's your ping when you play, by the way?
Roughly anywhere from 30 to 40.
Okay. Yeah, mine's usually about the same. It's just stuff like that takes practice to be able to react to. So, not a whole lot to say there. You're going Thorn Mail as your second item, or is this just a Warden's Mail? I'm not sure exactly what you end up building.
I think it's Thorn Mail.
So you're actually going to complete the whole thing, not just buy a Warden's Mail?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't think it's a bad decision. I just think that with the state of the game being as it is now, and Bramblevest being as powerful as it is, like yeah, you get some extra armor from completing the full Thorn Mail, but Tryndamere is not exactly giving you that much trouble with you having Tabby and Bramblevest anyways. Like, you can pretty much face tank him and kill him if he ever tries to split versus you. So I would have gone Leandry's here, or maybe even like a Dead Man's Plate, like a full Dead Man's Plate before getting a Thorn Mail, one of the two. Just because Dead Man's is very good versus Taliyah. Dead Man's also very good versus Ashe, where you need to be able to like have movement speed every time they slow you.
I think my other thought was, and I cannot remember, but I remember looking at Ashe, and at this point on Twitch was flaming everyone. I was just kind of waiting for him to totally tank, and then all of a sudden this 2/2 Ashe to take over the game, and I saw she was building what looked to be some crit items, so
yeah,
I wanted to get that just in case I needed to go. What in the world is it called? It's gonna bug me. Randuin's.
Randuin's, yeah, okay. So the way, at least this is what I think, the way I think Randuin's is right now, I think it's a completely inferior item to Thornmail. And especially on Sin specifically, the combination of Thornmail and Dead Man's Plate is a very good armor combination, armor and health combination, because it... I'm going to pause this, and actually I'm going to rewind and pause it before cooldowns are used. Okay, so there's two items, Thornmail and Dead Man's Plate together on Singed are very, very good. Thornmail lets you put grievous wounds on people who heal and auto attack. In this case, it's going to be Tryndamere, Ashe with her Warlord's Mastery, and Jarvan possibly if he's like getting some sort of... No, never mind, not Jarvan. I was thinking that Ardent Censer was completed, but there is no Ardent Censer yet from Janna's side, so that's not really going to be a big issue. The Bramblevest by itself is going to be very useful versus Tryndamere and Ashe already. I think having AP at this stage is really useful too, because their MRs are still kind of low if you look at the magic resistance that they have at this stage. No one really has it, so just besides Jarvan, I guess, so just having like hitting power behind your poison is very useful, I think, at this stage.
I can see that.
What else was I gonna say? Oh yeah, I was talking about Dead Man's Plate and Thornmail. So Thornmail helps you with the auto attackers, and then Dead Man's Plate is, I think, just a very, very, very good item on Singed synergistically. It's really good with his passive, because if you have full Dead Man's Plate stacks, it amplifies the amount of bonus movement speed you get, because Dead Man's Plate is contributing flat movement speed to you. It gives like 60 or 65 flat movement speed when you have it charged, and then that flat movement speed, as long as you don't auto attack on accident, gets converted to bonus movement speed percentage in your passive, whenever that procs. Armor, 500 health, or like 450. I'm not sure if they nerfed it or not. It doesn't really matter too much, because the synergy that it gives Singed, especially with Slipstream, is very, very good.
So you think that the 10% reduction on the critical strikes is pretty much worthless in comparison to Dead Man's and Thornmail?
I don't think it's worthless. I just think that the amount of armor that you get with those two items is comparable to having Randuin's. Is it, like Randuin's gives what, like 75 now, or did they buff it again? I'm not sure exactly how much it gives. It's either 75 or like 90, 85. I don't know exactly. But the thing about Randuin's right now, it's a lot better versus characters like Gangplank, who are going to crit you with abilities, because it's that crit gets reduced by the percentage of what your 10%. Yeah, Randuin's. That crit gets reduced by that amount. And those crits from a character like Gangplank using it on his barrels is a lot larger than what a crit from an AD carry would do. As far as like, yeah, an AD carry is going to crit you, but the thing about AD carry is they'll crit you consistently for smaller amounts than what a Gangplank would crit you for. And what that means is the percentage reduction ends up being less effective overall. Like, yeah, it's still effective, of course, but it's not helping you as much as something like a Randuin's versus Gangplank would.
Right.
As far as Ashe is concerned, I don't think that character can actually crit. She gives extra slow, which gives her extra damage, I think, but I don't think she can actually crit you. So in that regard, versus Ashe specifically, the only thing Randuin's would really help you with is reduce her slow a little bit, which is really not that helpful.
Yeah.
Other than that, I think. Well, actually, let's see how the team fight plays out first, and then I'll get my thoughts. I have kind of a general idea on what I think it's gonna do, since we kind of had a sneak peek of it, but we'll see. Okay, so Fizz misses his fish. At that point, he should not have gone in. That's definitely something. That's a really big mistake from Fizz.
Point, yeah, at this point, he begins to, and he was at this point the best player on our team, and he just starts raging in all chat, and it was. A nice silver fiesta. So.
Yeah, for sure. There's honestly not a whole lot you can do about that if a teammate's like raging or refusing to communicate. The biggest thing you can really do is focus on your own play. So I wouldn't worry about that too much if your teammates start to rage and stuff like that. As long as you keep a cool head and you're consistent about your gameplay and you're trying to improve, then you'll climb. It's just a matter of time, really. The amount of I guess that is kind of redundant right now. Not redundant, it's kind of pointless right now since the season ends in a month. But you get what I'm saying, right? Like, over time, you will continue to become a better player as long as you focus on what you're doing. Especially relevant now that Singed is a character that has more agency in the game. He has more of an ability to affect the outcome than he did before they updated him, which I really like.
Yeah. I mean, I started the season, because I just started playing last year, and I started Bronze 5 this. And by watching literally your videos, I picked up Singed, and here I am. So
hey, that's awesome. I'm glad to hear that. So I think that hold on one second. Sorry about that. I think that your I totally lost track of what I was gonna say. Sorry about that. Your consistency overall is. It's not something that I can really judge off of one replay. How long have you been in Silver? You said Silver 5, right?
So I'm in Silver 4 now.
Silver 4, yeah.
Yeah, I would have been in Silver for maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
Okay, that's not bad, and you're still climbing, right?
Yeah.
What's your win rate?
4 games. 53%, 58 on Singed.
Okay, that's good. That's really good.
I started the season playing jungle and just a bunch of champions that I did last year, and then I think around April I picked up Singed.
Yeah, okay. Was she still grounded there? No, she just didn't double tap her R. Okay, yeah, that amount of climbing is really good. And honestly, you'll continue to climb as long as you work in your last hitting consistency, your auto attack cancels, your itemization, and the speed at which you're buying your items. I think that's another thing. It's really little things. There's not like one big glaring flaw in your gameplay, I guess, besides the auto attack cancel. Like yeah, that one's kind of a big deal. But as long as you recognize it and you work on improving it and you change the setting so that you can control your auto attacks more effectively, I think that is something that you can improve to, and that's even an improvement that you could do in like 1 or 2 games with a little bit of practice.
Yeah. I think I just kept that on because I played jungle all of last season, so it was just easier when you were doing, the multi creep camps.
Yeah, yeah.
But it makes sense.
I gotcha.
This game gets slowly worse and worse. It's like a slow death.
I noticed that you guys are up like almost double their kills, but they're taking towers left and right, and the gold is actually in their favor by 100.
Yeah, if you could see the chat right now, people are blaming the Hecarim because he goes in there, and then the Twitch apparently isn't using his ult, and everybody's just flaming everybody at this point. And
yeah. You're definitely gonna get games like this in low elo. It even happens in high elo sometimes, not nearly as often, of course, because people they're really tryharding. It does still happen. You're gonna get games like this, and the thing to remember is the only thing you can really affect in a game is how you play. And with that in mind, I'm thinking, okay, yeah, so you guys do end up losing this game, I think, but
yeah,
as long as you're getting out of the game. Sorry, keep going.
Yeah, I was gonna say I thought this one was really a good one because like I said, I had 4 games today that I all lost, and it was wasn't trying to lose them, but just so happened that I got a replay for us to cover. But this one was one where I definitely thought that I did pretty well in lane, but then couldn't close the game out enough with my team.
Yeah.
And so that's what I just wanted some feedback on.
I gotcha.
How do you close this one out?
Well, the biggest thing I think is having the ability power early on would have made this team fight. And let me scrub the timeline. I think it was this team fight over here. Yeah, Hecarim kind of threw and Fizz kind of threw whenever they messed up and ran in by themselves. The Hecarim throw was actually closer to here. Yeah, that was here. So whenever Fizz ran in by himself and ended up throwing, yeah, it's detrimental for sure. But that is something that, if the fight was normal, I don't think it would have been that different, just because the amount of damage that you would have been able to put out, it's noticeable for sure. But it's not as much as if you would have had your ability power, like your haunting guys or whatever, and maybe even your extra blasting wand, possibly a full Liandry's, depending on whether or not you sold the Dark Seal. And if Fizz dies for free, then there's a chance, they chase you. There's a chance that you can run in and get a 1 for 2 kill. All sorts of different things can happen whenever that is the case. So right here, I noticed that you're walking towards shaded areas of the map, dark areas with 2 wards up. Definitely ward this bush right here, because if you're noticing, if that was Taliyah hiding in there and Janna screwing around over there, Taliyah could have just bopped you into there and they could have collapsed on you and killed you, right?
Right.
So definitely try and ward that when you get the chance. Especially with Dragon coming up in 9 seconds. It's very, very important to make sure that you're getting a vision. Never ever sit on your 2 trinkets. Always try and put them down when you have them in a spot that you think is a good warding spot. So I think this is fine.
Trying to get Ashe,
Yeah.
but I just couldn't get there, and I just essentially ended.
So here's the thing about this, right? Their team is extremely slow heavy. And it kind of is hard to deal with because you do really need Tabby this game too for Tryndamere and for Ashe, even though they're slowing the hell out of you the entire game. So they drop your movement speed into the 200s there for a bit. Then it's 360 even after you had some slips, your slipstream, and you had your ghost and ult running. I think the slipstream had worn off there, but you still had ghost and ult running, and it was 360 movement speed, which is definitely very, very hard to deal with running into them. So a better way to approach fighting the Ashe and Janna, I think, would be to try and flank them from the side or the back, if you can, as opposed to just running straight at them, because a good Ashe and a good Janna will be able to just non-stop deal with Singed like this. Another good option is to try and peel backwards, because I noticed that Tryndamere ran up here and he dove Fizz super, super hard. And with you having Rylai's and you having W and you having Fling, you can peel backline like not many other top laners can peel. I think like the one exception of that is like Maokai, who happens to be one of the best peelers in the game. But Singed he's really far up there once you have your Rylai's and you have like a little bit of a mana pool to back it up. With leveling up, you get a mana pool, right? So Singed is definitely really, really good at peeling. And if you are having trouble penetrating their backline, then that's something that, you know, as soon as this happened over here, where you're not able to get onto Ashe, the immediate thing I would have done is notice that Fizz is over here and ran to try and W Tryndamere and get him off of him, or I think you used W here, would be to run over to Tryndamere and try and like fling him, or at least give Tryndamere a bit of incentive to turn around onto you. And if he does, then you can fling him off of yourself, as opposed to Fizz, who already used his E to try and escape, and then ends up getting chased down and killed anyways.
Right.
Do you have any questions so far?
No. I guess one thing is, at this point, you can see the CS lead that Tryndamere has. I mean, is that like an inevitable fact, just because he literally is pushing
if your
all
team
lanes,
is
or?
if your team is losing this hard, then yeah, that's kind of inevitable. Yeah. Especially whenever he has like, because the frustrating thing about this, right, is Tryndamere has complete freedom to push up and take this camp, and maybe even take this camp, probably doing this camp over here, this camp over here. While you have to kind of babysit your team because your Hecarim and your Fizz are giving up kills when they shouldn't be, and you have to kind of be there to make sure that the enemy team doesn't like take your inhibitor, basically, while that gives Tryndamere a lot of freedom to farm up. So yeah, definitely frustrating. Not something you can really control super hard. I mean, but with a little bit of a better decision set in the early game, this is something that you could have potentially carried through. Your teammates throwing, but
yeah,
whenever someone wants to int, they're gonna int, and if someone's inting, even like the very best players have problems carrying them. Like even Faker has problems winning a 4v5 in like gold, so I wouldn't feel too bad about it. Actually, having an enter is worse than having a 4v5 because at the same time they're giving the enemy gold.
Right.
So let's go ahead and watch this from your perspective. Your whole team is actually sitting on wards besides Lulu, who has a sweeper. Whenever I was walking, or whenever you were walking around here, I would have just dropped a ward over here, just to have a little bit better vision, because this ward, yeah, it gives vision, but there's like this little area right here where you didn't see them, and maybe someone wants like hit a skill shot or something. Very good collapse onto those two, but just a little bit of efficiency. Okay, so that's 2 dead. You have Slipstream up. I want to say if you didn't stop the W, you could have flung him, but he probably had, yeah, he had, no wait, did he actually not? Okay, so he uses E here. Oh wow, okay, no he didn't. So I want to say if you didn't stop the W, you could have flung him.
Okay.
Yeah, Talia was hitting you with her work to ground or whatever that stupid ability is, threaded volley. She was hitting you with it, but maybe like it's so hard to say, just because I don't feel like doing math for one, and two, it's a lot of it's a lot of variables there. But odds are maybe you could have gotten the fling.
This fight made me so upset because I didn't understand why we just didn't go for Baron when Tryndamere was down. But whatever.
Yeah, I'm thinking this fight is, it's not. Oh no, he stopped autoing her.
Yep.
Wow. Yeah, that's unfortunate. That's just a mechanical error from him. Okay, so get the 2 picks. Yeah, I think Baron's definitely a very good option here. You're totally right.
Yeah, at this point, like typing in chat, Baron, and they're like, no, get Jarvan. So we try to go after him, and then I go to start the Baron, and then
starting Baron.
All of a sudden it moves back. I don't know.
You are kind of low, so I can see you and Fizz are kind of low, so I can see like why they'd want to get off of it. But at the same time, I think maybe running up to Jarvan here was a bit of a mistake. Like whenever the whole like situation started. You're like, okay, let me just. Okay, so I'm right here. You should be running into Baron and not even running towards Jarvan. I can see why you did it because he overextended, but there's little to no vision here, so it's a huge risk running over here because exactly what you didn't need to happen happened. They chunked you out.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, maybe the Baron is a possibility if both you and Fizz, like if only one of you is low. Like in this case, it would have just been Fizz that got low because he was being an idiot and running around over there. Like maybe it's a possibility, but at the same time, if you know you're doing the Baron 3v5 or 5v3, and they engage anyways, who's to say that Fizz can even help? Because he's chunked regardless, you know?
Yep.
Yeah, playing Ghost Singed versus Jarvan is definitely frustrating, I think. Oh, wow, okay. So it wasn't actually a canceled auto attack, he just lost vision of her while she had it on him. Ghost Singed versus Jarvan can be very frustrating. Like, me personally, I would still take Ghost just because I really like having the Ghost available way more often than Flash is available, so I have a bit of a bias towards, you know, preferring Ghost. But some Singed mains would suggest that you run Flash versus Jarvan. I don't like it personally. I think Flash is a very limited amount of uses. You either flash and make a big play or use to run away. There's no like general team fight use to it other than if you flash and fling. And if you can't hit it, then it's useless. So Jarvan's just one of those characters where if he lands it on you, then you have to try and be tanky enough to survive it, or you try and kill him while he's in it. So you're itemizing further into tank items, which I'm not the biggest fan of. I can see why you'd want to do it, with you being a frontline, but you're also sharing the frontline with Hecarim, and you really want to make sure that whenever you're getting onto someone that they're taking heavy damage, especially with you having Deathfire Touch. The rallies and the Andrews burn, in addition to the AP, becomes very, very effective. Oh man, yeah. So if you notice right there, your auto attack setting actually stopped you from flinging him immediately whenever he walked up, because your character stopped to auto attack, and then instead of being able to fling, he was already walking away.
I wondered why it does that, because I noticed that all the time. I didn't know it was because of that stupid setting.
He still got 1v1. So this right here, what they're doing in like trapping you in their in the Jarvan ult and you just spreading poison, that's actually very good for you because you're not taking a lot of damage. This is fine, I think. He ends up dying. You guys are doing pretty... Yeah, you play that team fight properly, I think. It's definitely risky to chase down the Taliyah there and try and go for a fling, just because if you don't have your Deathfire Touch and your dot taking on Tryndamere, if he manages to get over the wall, then he might survive. So I think you played that properly. If you did have a little bit more AP, he would have been taken down a bit faster, though. Had to been forced to pop his ultimate faster. Odds are you would have been as tanky as you are now, because not as tanky obviously, but almost as tanky while doing a lot more damage, just because you also get health from building Liandry's. You get 300 health. Then I think with Thornmail you get 250, and Spectre Scowl you get 250. So you're losing 200 health, but you're gaining a lot of damage. You're losing some resistances, yeah, but with your HP pool right now, with it being, what is it, 2,900, I almost feel like you're putting too much into the armor set right now. Like, it's very useful, yeah, but you also have your ultimate to consider. Like 245 base armor, like that's a number at this stage that I would aim for with your ultimate running.
Right.
Yeah, the biggest thing that the AP is useful for is just mid-game team fights, and I think mid-game team fights were a pretty big factor in this game.
Yeah.
Okay, so you get his GA, that's good. Oh wow, I would have actually kept running for Taliyah there. You had your fling available.
Even there would happen. It would have done so much more damage to Tryndamere.
Yeah, you would have done a lot more damage to Tryndamere, and you would have had a bigger incentive to keep going and engage on Taliyah, because she already used her kiting ability. So if you just walked up to her and flung her, you actually got the slipstream passive from Tryndamere's body as he was dying, or as he was respawning in GA. So that's a lot of incentive to just continue onto Taliyah and try and get an additional pick. And she didn't have flash there either, so she either has to try and like tank you guys out or just die. Tryndamere can't really help her while he's in his passive either, or not his passive, sorry, his ultimate either. So this is building into a Randuin's, correct?
Yeah, at this point.
What's the Kala building into?
I was thinking about getting a Spirit Visage, because I noticed that Taliyah's volley was just chunking me down, and I thought the do and the cooldown reduction would help a little bit, since for late game.
Someone correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, but I think Abyssal Mask gives 350 health and Spirit Visage gives 450. Is that correct? Do you know?
Not sure.
I'm pretty sure that's what it is. So the idea is between deciding between those two items is if you need to survive immediate burst, like a large amount of upfront burst, then go for Spirit Visage, or if you need
Okay.
to be a little bit more, team fight oriented in terms of dealing damage, then go for Abyssal Mask. Like, my personal opinion, yeah, Talia's doing a lot of damage to you, but she has to go through her rotation like 2 or 3 times before she does the amount of damage to you, as opposed to like doing it all up front. So maybe having Abyssal Mask, and that little bit of extra damage would be helpful.
Yeah, it's a 100 HP difference between Spirit Visage over
Yeah.
Abyssal Mask. So, not a lot.
So I want to go through the beginning of this team fight. Your team is kind of posturing on theirs, so this is fine. I think you're running over there. Okay, Twitch opens up. He gets a kill onto Talia. This is very good at this point. He ends up trapping Twitch and... Oh, wow. Okay. So, there is a way, and at this point in particular, it's kind of stretching it to say that you misplayed it, because really you didn't misplay it. But there is a way you could have played it a bit better. I guess that's kind of shitty to say that like you could have done something better, but you didn't do it wrong, But right there, whenever you W'd him, consider the fact that your W also stops him from being able to cast his ultimate, because ultimate is considered a leap.
Alright.
So yeah, like that right there, your W can stop him from casting that.
I could have waited like a split second longer.
Yeah, you could have waited until like you were closer to him and like then put it on him like in a centered position, because the way you tried to use it was to catch him on the edge of it to slow him down for your team, where he was already slowed by running through your rallies. The Lulu Q was about to hit him. I think Twitch with red buff was like hitting him too. There's already a lot of slows on him, and slows have diminishing returns. The more slows you put on someone, the less and less each individual slow is going to do. So the W from you there, not the most important thing in the world to use to try and slow him down. Just and like I'm saying, like even like veteran Singed players would have made that mistake, I think, where they wouldn't have used the W to stop his R, because you have a 2-kill advantage. It's really hard to say that you're going to lose that team fight at that point, but it's always hard to make that assumption versus a Fed AD carry, with Ashe being as strong as she was before that fight. Especially in this meta right now, where AD carries are just the end-all be-all. So yeah, I think you played it wrong, but I think it could have been played better. I hope that makes sense. I'm not trying to like be a dick about it.
No, it totally does, because I actually could have saved my entire team from getting just chunked out by Ashe in a very small window of no escape.
Actually, I want to go over this one more. I'm not going to go over the fight, I just want to see... Okay, so it's Fizz running up there. And this is something that's going to only be learned through practice, I think, is knowing when to go to lane to push back, and when to take a fight and deal damage, or get damaged. The best time to take a fight is when the creep wave's in a position like this, up here, as opposed to pushing towards you, because whenever this Baron fight over here was taken... whenever this Baron fight was taken, as your Twitch got 2 kills, your creep wave was up here. You had teleport available, so you could have been up here farming and pushing it back at the same time, and then teleported in later, depending on the ward coverage, and gotten some CS that way. Not the biggest deal in the world, because the team fight was lost anyways, but it is something that, CS efficiency overall, that's like a more overall tip, not like a specific kind of tip to that situation. The CS efficiency overall can still be improved through things like that. Okay, I think this is fine so far. That's actually very good. Ooh. Maybe just a little bit too ham, but I don't think that's necessarily a mistake. Lulu probably should have shielded you instead of shielding, was it Twitch, I think, like 2 times that fight? Twitch wasn't even getting hit. Okay, so Fizz gets caught. Nothing new. He doesn't manage to do a whole lot before he dies. And I'm not sure about that right there. What was why'd you turn up in the middle of that fight? I'm curious. Like you kind of moved, like right here, you kind of moved up a little bit. And it's right there. Was there a reason for that? You kind of like, because Janna, for a very brief moment, Janna was in your fling range. And if you ever manage to fling a Janna into your team, she has to ult, you know, to peel herself as opposed to peeling her team. And if you even kill the, if you ever even kill the Janna, then she can't be up here like shielding her Tryndamere and stuff like that to do extra damage.
At that point, I didn't know if they were gonna back off or not because Hecarim was pinging back.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
Or like typing back, or he was pretty much. Like I said, everybody was pretty much. We were our own worst enemies this game. So.
Okay. Yeah, for sure. And that again, that point about you turning up a little bit, like turning to the side, I guess, very very minute detail. Not like that's not something that's super game changing, especially considering how tilted your teammates are this game. So I wouldn't worry too much about it. But being able to kill an Ardent Censer, the most important targets on their team, in my opinion, in this order are Ashe and then Janna, then Tryndamere, then Taliyah, then Jarvan. Actually, Taliyah and Tryndamere could be considered of equal importance because they both deal so much damage. But most important targets are Ashe and then Janna. And since it's very hard for you to get onto Ashe there, you could have gone for the Janna fling instead and stopped her from peeling back and then like saving the Taliyah also, and it would have killed her instead of having her be able to shield a Tryndamere, give Tryndamere a shielded 50 AD additional crit. Like, yeah, with that shield on him, he just insta-kills. That's crazy. Wow. Yeah, so just a lot of really, really little things. Also, if you had the Liandry's completed during that fight, they would have been taking a lot more damage throughout all of it, but that's already a point that we've covered.
Yeah. I see that now.
I think maybe instead of finishing the full Thornmail, what I would have done is sat on Bramblevest, and then if you still feel like you need more tankiness, go for a Giant's Belt into a Deadman's Plate. You get more HP that way. And then go into Liandry's, but instead kind of what was done here is you went into the Thornmail, or you went from your Bramblevest into a Thornmail, into two separate tank items, one of which you sold, and then into Liandry's. But like instead of like if you just committed to building like one item at a time, then you can think more clearly about, okay, I have this many slots to build with, what can I get the best of in this slot until I get enough gold to complete.
Right.
Then building so many different component items really restricts the amount of itemization that you can complete because, hey, you know, if you need a Negatron cloak right now, you can't buy it because you have a random Warden's Mail sitting in your inventory, right?
Yeah.
Also, Warden's Mail by itself is not going to give you too big of a benefit because it's sharing the same unique passive Cold Steel as Thornmail, so you're actually only really getting 40 armor out of this, nothing else.
Right.
This catch on Tryndamere right here, this is very, very big. If I was your team, I would try and send Fizz down to deal with Taliyah, or I would go down and deal with Taliyah, while the rest of your team either pushes for mid lane or they push for this. The problem with this right here is no one's dealing with this creep wave, and that's going to end up collapsing. And if Taliyah's smart, she just ults up there and takes the inhibitor while you guys are fighting over this, even though it's 5v4. Good catch onto Ashe there. I'm assuming she dies. That's really good. That's really good. Hecarim gets caught a little bit. Why did you run all the way around? Is there a reason for that?
Because I thought we were gonna. I didn't see them. I wasn't really paying attention. I was looking at the creep wave to try to push it out.
Gotcha.
And then I realized that what they were doing. So, but in this, they're pinging to go to mid, and they're wanting me to tank the turret rather than take the Elder Dragon.
Yeah, definitely not a good idea.
Yeah, and this is where it kind of all goes to hell. Because I was in chat, I was saying get Elder, and then we can fight at Baron.
Yeah, 100% Elder Dragon should have been the focus there.
With the Elder buff.
Yeah.
They wanted the tower, and then we ended up getting nothing off of all those pets.
Yeah, that's extremely unfortunate. Elder Dragon, definitely the right call here. Tryndamere was dead. And Taliyah, or not Taliyah. Jarvan was dead. Ashe was dead. That is a free Elder Dragon if they just committed to it.
Yeah, and Twitch was pretty much full health.
A good way sometimes to force your team to start an objective like Elder Dragon or Baron is just to go up and start hitting it, kind of like what you did earlier in this game with Baron. You just walked up and started to hit it. Maybe if you did that with Elder Dragon, then your team would have been like, okay, fuck it, he's already hitting it, I guess we just do it.
Because now they do the exact thing that I wanted to do.
They end up getting the Elder.
And then that's pretty much the end of...
Yeah, even though you guys won the team fight, they still got the objective. Very unfortunate.
Right.
A metaphor that I like to use sometimes is solo queue with bad teammates is like trying to herd like retarded sheep. You have to really kind of drill it in what you want with pings, with like throwing your body onto an objective to like be like, okay, team, look at me. You know, monkey see, monkey do. If they see you doing something that you know is the right decision, then 4 out of 5 times they'll probably follow you. And if they don't, then well, they don't deserve to win anyways, and there's not a whole lot you can do about it. Besides queue up again and play another game.
Yeah.
What the hell?
At that point, Fizz was pretty much, he was blaming everyone but himself, and then I think he just went in to try to get the easy kill.
Even though he's trolling, that's actually very, very good, because now they don't have an AD carry to siege with for 50 or 1 minute even, which is very good. So that stalls out a third of Elder Dragon, which is already down to about half. And then it stalls out a quarter of Baron, because Baron lasts 4 minutes, Elder Dragon lasts 3 minutes.
Right.
This fight here is also a fight that I would have taken. The peeling, very, very good here. The peeling of Jarvan, very good. It's 2 down. It's fine too.
At that point, I was just trying to save Twitch. I don't even know if he gets away. I don't think he does.
Wow. That crit, very unfortunate. Yeah, they're not. Your Lulu and Twitch aren't spacing properly. They should not have died there. Or at least Lulu should not have died there. But I think you played that fight as best as you probably could have there. The peeling of Jarvan and the peeling of Tryndamere is very good there. I think overall your team fights are above average, but there's a lot of efficiency work that I think would really help you climb.
Yeah, the shop, the
you are climbing. Like, don't get me wrong, you're climbing just fine. But it's still stuff that can be improved on. Like for example, that Twitch right there, he threw his E down while Tryndamere was still respawning, and then say Tryndamere was able to jump over that wall and Twitch didn't crit him, then maybe the expunge doesn't kill him by like 4 HP. If he had saved his E and thrown at the right time, then that's a kill. Like, there's a whole lot of different things with crit being an RNG. I mean, players like that, a lot of the time, especially was Twitch raging at all this game?
Oh,
or
yeah, the whole time.
Okay, yeah. So a player like that, I wouldn't expect him to be able to even remotely recognize that he technically made a mistake there. And for that reason, a player like that will always be stuck at the same elo probably until he recognizes that he needs to improve his own gameplay.
Just threw out a lot of missed ultimates. Like, as well as his score looks on paper, like.
Yeah. For that reason, I think as soon as Fizz threw the ultimate out there and missed, I would have spam pinged my team back, because that's your big assassination ultimate for your team. The Fizz ultimate, if that misses, you have to wait until the next one, especially when the enemy team is that strong, because if you don't have it, that's a gigantic burst of damage that you guys are going to be missing. That's fine overall. So I'm assuming they just walk up mid and end the game.
Yep.
Okay, yeah. So your ultimate's down, Twitch ult's down, two people dead, not a whole lot you can do here. I want to scrub back through the footage and see where exactly you started to dip really heavily in CS. No, you're still even here. Still mostly even there. So there's a 30 CS differential here. What happened in between there and that? There and there. Okay, so
at this point, I think it's me
fight.
grouping with my team versus Tryndamere being able to split push.
Yeah, for sure. I agree.
Which I guess I probably could have put more emphasis on the CS and then kind of waited to use a TP or just run in, but I just didn't trust my team at that point, because the Hecarim, I mean, his build, he hadn't finished Triforce. He's not that tanky, and he I think he ended up like at one point he was like 1-6 in the mid game, so he wasn't exactly.
Yeah. What I'm doing right now is that on the replay, the TP cooldown you have here is bugged, so I'm trying to find when you used it to see if it was like the proper use of TP in that situation. I think your TPs are mostly okay. Maybe during laning phase, you maybe used 1 or 2 more than you needed to. Try and recall after you kill the wave that comes before the cannon wave, and the reason for that is if you do it then the enemy laner has to focus on killing the cannon, and that takes like 3 or 4 extra auto attacks, maybe even an ability, compared to what it would take to kill a non-cannon wave. And that means you have a little bit of buffer time, especially with movement speed quints, to run back to lane after you're recalled. At worst, you lose a cannon. At best, you lose nothing.
Okay. I've noticed you take courage a lot, and I'm assuming that's just because you're in high elo, and Singe becomes more of a meat shield than anything. But I mean, do you typically just use like how much CC the enemy team has?
So it's very game dependent, right? So
yeah,
if the enemy team has a lot of crowd control or upfront burst, those are not statistics. Those are the 2 criteria I use to determine whether or not I take Courage of the Colossus. The enemy team this game, they don't have a lot of hard CC. They have an Ashe stun and they have a shit ton of slows. Jarvan has a knockup, but you cannot reduce knockups by CC, or sorry, by tenacity. Yeah. So the other thing to consider is that they do have a Jarvan and you don't have Flash. So maybe in that situation, you having Courage of the Colossus would help a little bit. It's hard to say though, because your team was like they're playing so weird. But yeah, Courage of the Colossus theoretically could have helped you survive these team fights a bit longer. But you weren't really having a lot of trouble surviving team fights, except like a few around Baron, I think, and like one right here where you're getting kited by Ashe really hard. But the biggest one was this one over here where Jarvan trapped all you guys in the ultimate. But I think even with Courage, you probably would have been dead there.
Okay.
CS efficiency. Yeah, try and recall on waves as the cannon wave is running to lane, or if you can proxy on the cannon wave and kill the enemy cannon wave before they can hit your cannon wave. Try and do that and then recall. I usually actually don't say this to people when coaching, but you should try and proxy a bit more, in my opinion. Because I think that a healthy mix of being able to proxy and being able to lane is the best way to play Singe right now. This game, at least, it seemed like you were much more lane oriented. Do you usually proxy, or do you usually try and lane, or?
I usually proxy, and I actually made that mistake pretty much throughout all my games. I played in Illaoi today, and I usually dumpster her. But for whatever reason, I didn't proxy her, and I have no idea why. Like, I looked back at my own replay, and this game, it was mostly because I didn't want Tryndamere to just push on my tower constantly. I wanted to try to harass him, and I kind of noticed that he wasn't exactly the best Tryndamere, because he probably could have done a lot more damage to me. So I was just trying to pick on him in lane a little bit. But I definitely see where if I had perfect CS by proxying, then that would have later on for sure. Yeah. And possibly drawn more people to my side of the map versus mid or bot.
Yeah, absolutely
for objectives.
Right. Absolutely correct. I want to highlight this right here. Actually, I didn't catch this the first time I was going through, but I caught it now. Rewind it a little bit. So your ultimate runs out after Jarvan's ultimate runs off on you. At this point, it's very, very impractical to keep running forward. You ran forward for like 2 seconds or even like 1 second while your ultimate was down, and they did a lot of damage to you. And then as soon as it runs off, like, you're very vulnerable.
Yeah.
Because you lose movement speed, you lose tankiness, you lose a lot of your not a lot of damage, but you lose some of your damage. So you want to try and back off of a close fight, as your ultimate has like 4 or 5 seconds left on it. That way there's like less of a risk of you getting chased down if you stay in until the very, very last second. Kind of like what you did there, and then after that you actually ended up continuing to walk forward, which contributed very heavily to you guys getting caught over here and dying, and then they they walked over here and pushed the tower and got a few more kills, and then they ended up pushing inhibitors. That might have been like the biggest turning point, but that's hard to say again because your team was inting pretty consistently, especially Fizz. I guess he wasn't inting, but he's not exactly like being super helpful, you know? So yeah, I think the biggest things to work on is your last hitting under tower, being able to find a better mix of proxying and laning, knowing when to proxy, knowing when to lane, I think is very important. Versus a matchup like Tryndamere in that situation, if you're not comfortable letting him push towards you until you have your Bramble Vest and Tabby, go ahead and proxy. And even after that, once you have it, like you had it this game, but you continued to push onto him, like into his tower instead of letting the wave freeze and like trying to let him push towards you. Don't be afraid to let it push towards you and see if you can fight him, especially after you get Bramble Vest, and even more so after you get Bramble Vest Tabby, because actually you bought Tabby pretty late this game, so that point's kind of irrelevant. But especially with you having Bramble Vest, don't be afraid to fight Tryndamere, because that's your window whenever you finish that item early game to really try and push your advantage on him and try and get kills in addition to just out farming him. Because what ended up happening was you farmed evenly with him and he was only forced to die whenever he made a mistake, right? You never like forced him to make a bad play. He just kind of fucked up and you guys got the kill for it. So I talked about the last hitting. Talked about that. Teleport usage early game. Make sure again that you're saving it, and only if you absolutely need to use it. Recall on the wave before cannons. If you need to recall, if you don't need to recall, then don't. Or another option is to take the enemy cannon wave behind the tower with a proxy and then recall, which is even better than waiting until the wave before, because it makes it so your cannon is under their tower and it takes the tower a long fucking time to kill the cannon.
Right.
What else was there?
Shop efficiency.
Yeah, shop efficiency, definitely. Make sure that you're not spending a whole lot of time in the shop. Like I said before, once you recall, first thing you need to do is if you're red side, click over here. First thing you need to do is if you're blue side, click over here. Then you open your shop, then you buy what you need, then you leave. Again, don't need to be full health and mana before you leave the fountain. You just need to be at a reasonable amount to the point where you can regen the rest of it as you walk out, and that's something again that you'll need to practice to get a hang of how much exactly Singed regens at what point of the game. And the first few times that you practice that, you're gonna end up walking the lane with like 100 HP missing, 100 mana missing, but the more used to it that you get, you'll know better when to actually leave the fountain as opposed to just waiting there until you're absolutely full.
Makes sense.
And that doesn't matter nearly as much whenever you have home guards, because you regen everything so much faster to the point where you can't buy quick enough and you're actually full HP. But before the 25-minute mark and no one has home guards, that's a very, very important skill.
Got it.
Yeah, itemization. Definitely always reconsider your itemization options. AP, Unsinged, Liandry's. I don't think it should be a second item every game, but definitely a third item every game as like an absolute last resort. Like if that's your only option to get it as a third item. You don't have to force as a second item every game, but definitely have it earlier than what you had it here. Any other questions?
No, I think it was great. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
It was a huge help.
Well, in that case, if you don't have any more questions, I'm going to go ahead and cut it off.
Okay, awesome.